and from what I understand, the people, the ancients totally understood what he's saying. This wasn't really sod information to them. This is how they saw themselves, the world. They understood that an animalistic portrayal, parabolic portrayal, was very accurate on a very real level. So much of Enoch is written in the later chapters of animal apocalypses, which today people are like, what is he talking about? Okay, that's part of but I'm just telling you, this is picked up. I mean, Paul talks about Jesus uses a lot of these words. There's a lot of these concepts are revelation, full of animal apocryphal language. You know, you got the beast, you got the four living creatures. You know, just tons and tons of this apocryphal parabolic imagery. So what I'm saying is that these words, especially the animal ones, I've really been focused on these, have been a way of carrying forward a reality, a truth, an esoteric understanding until it was time for this to be really revealed. They have always said, if you get into the Torah sages and a lot of this mystical understanding, that the first chapter of Genesis, they will tell you this, and Ezekiel's wheel, that's in his first chapter of Ezekiel, first or second chapter, is like two of the most highly parabolic, hidden, mystical texts in all of Hebraic writings, and rightly so. Because in Genesis, God uses all this parabolic, when he makes these living, and I'll tell you what they are, the word che and the word age, these are living souls. And he goes on to say very clearly, when you have eyes wide open to see it, these are the armies of God, the sons of God, the different races, orders of created beings, angels, whatever, all these different things that he made in the 6 days. And on the 6th day, a lot of interaction and what's going to go on. And we're on, okay, in the 8th day, and there's just so much in there. Then you have, oh my gosh, all the numbers, the grammatica. Oh man, there's so many levels to this thing. But just to that's all in the Bible. I didn't make it up. And Jesus said, look, I'm speaking to them in parables, and they're not going to get it because it wasn't really time. But he said, to you, my disciples, I'm going to give you the skinny. I'm going to tell you what I really mean. Give you back the keys. Okay, which the early church really did have and really did operate with in great power. And because we're going to get them back, and we're going to get the veil totally rent again. See, what happened was kind of closed that veil a little bit again, quite a bit. But it's going to come, bursting wide open again. And we are going to erupt in such power and understanding. Now, I've been over this a little bit, but I want to just start with this because there's an interesting verse I'm going to use as a jumping off verse here in Jeremiah 31:27. The days are coming, and I want to tell you, I have this in about 6 different translations, and I will start with the New American Standard, which I always think is a great one. It said, behold, days are coming, which really are okay, declares the Lord, when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and with the seed of beast. Now, that's a real clear verse in terms of he's saying, so first of all, he's talking about, and this is what I'm saying, I'm not making this up, the house of Israel, that represents a whole group of people, and the house of Judah, and they're not the same. That used to be all 12 tribes, but they got divided. You got house of Judah, which is over there in the land today. That's the Jews. Israel, the house of, this is what this guy was saying in my original quote, the house of Israel happens to be the Anglo-Americas in the world today genetically, predominantly. Not that they're not everywhere. See, the seed is scattered, and I'll tell you a little seed. Oh my gosh, this is such a mix and mingle thing today. But it's been taking 6,000 years, okay? So God is saying, days are coming, and now that's in the King James. He'll say the same thing. Behold, the days come, say the Lord, that I will sow. Let's go through this. The word sow is the word zara, which means to scatter seed. I will sow. And this is the parabolic understanding. And this is what, okay, that you seed, you scatter. And really, this is DNA. This is sperm, people. This is exactly what we're talking about, because we're talking about people. And this is how he's going to sow that seed, that DNA of these people groups, the house of Israel and the house of Judah, with the seed of man and with the seed of beast. Okay? Now, with the zera. So there's 2 words here. Zara Z-A-R-A, which is to sow the seed, and zerah, which is the seed. So you sow the seed. They're two words that are very closely tied together. And zerah means descendants. It means offspring. In these words, we're talking about people coming from people who are coming from people who are coming from people, okay? Last one, here's the Holman Christian Standard Bible, says the days are coming. This is the Lord's declaration, when I will sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and the seed of beast. Okay, and we're going to unpack that. But I want to read you, because it's so sad, the two most popular translations. And this is the thing, people, and I'm kind of at the conclusion. I mean, they're just totally watering down the word. I don't know, deliberately, or we've just lost so much as Gentile Christians because we are so cut off from our root, our Hebraic heritage. They're the ones who kept the covenants and the understandings and the law and the Torah and the prophets. They're the ones who have the understanding, not us. This is what the NIV says. Oh, this is the New Living. I mean, this is so pitiful. The day is coming, says the Lord, when I will greatly increase the human population and the number of animals here in Israel and Judah. I mean, that does not at all give the understanding of the words. It is, in my mind, it's what would be the word? It's like they ought to know better. How can these translators do this? First of all, you always translate the word bet, the house of Israel, as house. It's not human population. And it's not here. Oh, so anyways. And then in the New International, it says, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will plant the kingdoms of Israel and Judah with the offspring of people and of animals. I mean, what is that supposed to mean? Okay? No. So we're going to go back down here to the good old King James and New American Standard, where he's going to sow the house of Israel and the house of Judah with the seed of man and the seed of beast. And these are words we need to begin to understand. Okay? And in man is the word 120 in your Strong's. It is the word Adam, the Adamic man, and basically from this point we're talking about the sons of Noah. Again, the Adamic sons of Noah who repopulated. And the beast is the word behemoth. It is translated, and we're just going to have to get a handle on this word. Okay? I mean, and I'm sorry this isn't politically correct, but you know what? I'm a friend of God. I could care less what people think. Okay? This is time that we really understand. You need to understand how awesome our Yahweh's mercy is, what he's been doing, and how the enemy has just so corrupted the seed of man. It's crazy. But the 929 behemoth, that is the word beast, that is the word, that is the cattle. In Hebraic understanding, that was the Gentile nations. Now these understandings, now let me just put that aside, okay? Because that's a mouthful there. I mean, but let's go back to this. Paul talked, and I've been through a couple of these, because these words we really are going to have to unpack. Paul says that all flesh is not the same flesh. And when you look at the words, this is the word sarx, which is the word for mankind. Okay, so we have different people groups here. We have a house of Jew, we have a house of Israel, we have a seed of man, and we have a seed of beast. And according to the context of the verse, they're all people. So what's going on here, okay? God always made, and in the beginning, when you understand, on day 5 and day 6, he made races of created beings that kind of came into manifestation, okay? And this gets into, I don't know if you can even go with me, whatever. In day 1, the war on heaven when Satan fell, and then day 2, 3, 4. But when you had elements, you had more of the forces. There's stuff going on, people that are so beyond our ability to comprehend in some ways. Principalities, powers, these things, the primordials, okay? But by the time you get down to the 5th day, and I'm going to have to speed up because I got to unpack 2 of these important understandings. You get into, he started to make the species of living souls. Now, this is a living soul, which when you understand, and man breathed into him the breath of life, but these are still, according to Paul, flesh, okay? Because this explains so much, because you have these people groups. You have beasts, because this in 1 Corinthians 8, chapter 8, verses 4 through 6, Paul talks about these groups. So I'm taking this right out of the New Testament. So if you think I'm crazy, Paul understood this esoteric understanding 100%. You have men, which are one kind, Adamic. You have beasts, which is another word, which is behemoth, which is cattle, which is translated a lot of times livestock. You have birds. You have the word fowl. You have the word, which in the Old Testament is omphs, and then Penios, it's got another word in the Greek. You have fish, which is, we get this word, oh my gosh, ithacus, isthis, that fish symbol, okay? And then he goes on, not only that, and then I'm talking about the elements, you think I'm crazy. He talks about the heavenly bodies, the earthly bodies. These are flesh, but they're heavenly, they're celestial, they're urethral. Okay, so this is there. Then we were talking about when Peter has this great vision, still in the New Testament, the use of these words. When he talks about, he had this vision, the net was, this thing was lowered, and God showed him all of these different animals, quote unquote. But they were, again, if you look these words up in their Hebrew or in their, they're the same words. The translations just, 1 minute it's livestock, the next minute it's cattle, and then it's something else. It's very hard to follow. But you have the che, the beast of the field. You have the behemoth. You have the owph, which is the umph, the fowl of the air. You have the rems, which is the creeping things. And then you have the Adam, which is the Adamites. Okay? Now, what it says here, this is the sod meaning here in this whole thing, that Peter's debt was paid, it's cleansed. All these races of people can come into now because of what Yahushua did, because of his shed blood. He cleansed all the races that had been created because, oh my gosh. I guess we're just, the reason this is coming, we're so close to Satan. Oh my gosh, he thinks because he's so rewritten history that when these aliens come out about, which are really nothing but the fallen angels, the watcher angels, and we get these aliens coming down and we're thinking there's some big saviors. Oh my gosh, people. These races that are about to pop out on us, let me just tell you something. The Bible, the ancients had to deal with it. We're going to have to deal with it. David had to deal with it. Oh my gosh. So anyways, when the sky opened and he saw these things, he saw what four-footed animals, which is the word, you get the wild beasts out of this. No, the crawling creatures is the reams, where you get your word, the reptiles, the serpents, the nakashas. These are races of created beings. The four-footed animals, which is the beast, the che, the beasts of the field, and the behemoth, because they're both included in there. I'll tell you something about that. You have the birds, so you have them all here. I have to say, all right, so I just want to keep going. When Noah is on the ark and he gets off the ark, and a lot of these things went onto the ark, people, these are different races of people. I'll tell you a little secret. I'm about ready to unpack. Everybody wants to know, well, how did the Canaanite bloodline get through the flood? Well, when you understand when Noah took on the ark, in what happened with Noah and the little incident where he planted, quote unquote, a vineyard, that's so, the Peshat level, oh yeah, he planted a vineyard and drank some wine and got drunk. Well, that's about as the Peshat level as you get when you get down to the sun. No, he planted a vineyard, people. But this is where we've got to come, we'll get there in a couple of weeks of understanding that. But, so Noah, all these creatures that he took on the ark, and when Adam names these, the cattle, the fowl, the beasts of the field, he does not name the fish and the creeping things, which were really made on day 5. And then after the flood, he makes a covenant. God reestablishes a covenant with his seed, Adam's seed, but not only his seed, but the fowl, the cattle, and the beasts of the field. The beasts, the cattle, the behemoth, and then the beasts of the field. So why would he make a covenant? I mean, what is God? I mean, I just have never seen cattle in the milk cat going to temple or going, it just doesn't happen. I mean, that's not what it's talking about, okay? We have to understand these words have been encrypted to say something that is very important for us today. Now, so all that being said, it's there. Now, again, in the cherubim, in Revelation, again, it talks about the living creatures, and this is one of the things in Ezekiel's will. He saw this living creature that had the face of it. It had a face of a lion, a face of an ox, an eagle, and a man. Again, we're talking about these different species, and God made a covenant that he would never destroy. So this has a lot of... so now we have to understand, once you start to believe me, what can I say? That these words represent people groups, okay? And if you think, okay, and people groups, see, now this is what I want to say, because you have to understand about duality. I can't even really kind of go there yet, per se. But Adam, his Adamic man is like the sheep, the Adamic man. In the beasts of the field, this is, I have to tell you, this has been a problem group to a large extent, okay? The cattle, the oxen, the Gentiles, pretty much the bull, the livestock, the birds represent the eagle, the angels, the fowl. Even the tribes of Israel were given some of these insignias on them. Okay, this, before because I just want to keep, it's all over everything. Here's even this was from the Book of Enoch, that they had mixed themselves. This is the point. Israel forgot that it was the people of God and sinned by mixing themselves with the wild beasts of the field and with the cattle, the Gentiles, who these people in the ancient world, what this represented. Can remember how Israel, why would God keep saying, don't fornicate with the nations, stop mixing your seed, because there's a reason. It's not like God is mean or that God is racist. I hate that more than anything on the planet. Okay? There is a huge picture to this thing. And what God is doing, Yahweh, and I sang this whole thing, and I don't care, because I'm all about the glory of Yahweh's name. Okay? Now, what I want to say at this one, okay, because there's a lot to be said and all that, but these are a couple of things out of Enoch, and why, and I will just prove to you. Look, there's a person who has spent so much time on YouTube. They have a channel. It's called In His Word. I believe that's it. Who has gone through all the books of the Bible with the Book of Enoch and cross-referenced them. Almost every concept and verse category and of all these different parabolic usages is in Enoch and is in our Bible, and it's irrefutable, people. I'm sorry, I just can't. If you can't get past that, you need to ask the Holy Spirit to help you. Okay? Now, this is where Satan is in one of these groups. Okay, this is the point. How he infiltrated on a genetic level the human genome. He's been doing it. People are unpacking this stuff, and oh my gosh, it can really in some scare the pants off you. Seriously. Oh my gosh. But I didn't make it, so I didn't write the book. Whatever. I'm just trying to. But this is where you got to understand who you are. You're up. When we're seated with Christ in the heavenly realms with Him, we're above all this kind of sewage, a lot of it, and the devil's side sewage that's floating around, okay? So there's no need for fear, but we just have to have information. Knowledge is power. I'm telling you what. In Enoch, which I would like to unpack, see, he uses these words, especially these animal apocalypses, so that people groups, especially Israel's ancient enemies, constantly dogging them. The Midianites were known as wild asses. The Egyptians were wolves. The Philistines were dogs. The Edomites were wild boars. The Amalekites were foxes. The lions were Assyrians. The tigers were the Chaldeans, which is in the same group. Northern Assyria and southern Babylon make the nation of Iraq today. You have both lions and tigers there. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh no. Anyways. Eagles are the Greeks. The crows are the Syrians. Okay, so these things are pretty well, and how this has played out, and that how Enoch could have such insight from the Lord just to go through the history of mankind of 6,000 years and how these people groups were going to play out. And yet, in all of our Bible stories, people from all these people groups are in all Israel. Over and over again. There are enemies there, but there are those who join themselves to all Israel. In the animal hearts, when he talks about the bullocks, and this is, and this is causes so much, because of our stupidity or our ignorance. Satan has allowed us to have such evil perpetuated, like Ham, the black people, all these years of all this stuff coming down upon them because we just didn't understand Bible words. I'm telling you, black people are under the curse. I don't think so. No, that's not what it's talking about. Oh my gosh. And the white races, this isn't white people aren't any bad. Oh my gosh, people, these are not how these words were used. One of the things in red, okay, but I will tell you black, it's actually their deeds were evil, okay? It has nothing to do with race, color, your skin. It has to do with the blackness, the darkness of the evil, the deeds, okay? Shem was a white bullock, okay? His deeds, he was of the priesthood of Melchizedek. He really didn't mess up much. I mean, I'll tell you what, the guy was a pretty great high priest and elect one of God, kept nose clean, okay? But I will say that Ham, some of his generations really did get deep back into what the Watchers was doing pre-flood, what was going to be pre-flood. I mean, really, they did. Nimrod. I mean, that's just a fact. I can't. But also did Axelphad, who is one of the sons of Shem. I mean, it's across the board. But okay, so Abraham and how Ishmael is considered a wild ass, and Isaac was another white bullock, and how the bullocks, how the sheep, how the 12 tribes were known as the sheep, and these birds. Has so much to do with in the Old Testament and the sacrament they were doing, clean and unclean, and the sacrifices, and keeping, just trying to keep a level playing field as mankind is just constantly, killing each other. The blood that has been shed on the earth. It says the blood there has to be remission. The earth was not made to just hold men's blood, which is the soul. Okay, the soul in the blood is the soul of mankind, of a person. You keep shedding that. But I will say this is a lot of what was going on in the deeper esoteric understandings, the coverings that were going on when they were doing these animal sacrifices, and on the flip side, the Luciferian evilness that these people are doing to keep. Oh, we will go there. Okay, so what I want to just show you, to whet your appetite that these things are real, this is there. But the last thing I'm going to end up on, see, Satan, this is so interesting, because on day 5, this is what's going to come out, people. Oh my gosh. This is where Satan, his word, when you track it, like I have all these little cards. I track these words. There are over 40, this is just the tip of the iceberg, over 40 animal verses where these verses are used. In Ezekiel, I want to just read you this. He talks about, I declare that at that time, at the time of the end, there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. The fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the beasts of the field, and every creature that moves on the ground, and all the people on the face of the earth will tremble at my presence. Now, I mean, what's a little insect going to do tremble? That's not what it's talking about. It's right there. The races that God created, they are going to tremble at his presence because it's coming down. It's over. The gig is up. Oh my gosh, people. But we need, the people of God, the elect of God, we need this information so that we can stand, and having done all, we can stand and back Satan down, so that literally, okay, let me just give you one more quick, and this is in, again, this is in Revelation, so it's all over. It's in Enoch. I've seen it in Jubilees. I have seen it in Jasher. It's all over the Apocrypha. It's all over our New Testament and our Old Testament. This is from Revelation chapter 4. In the center around were 4 living creatures, and they were covered with eyes. The first living creature was like a lion, the second like an ox, the third had the face of a man, and the fourth was like a flying eagle. Each of the 4 living creatures had 6 wings and all this kind of stuff. This is talking about some really deep stuff, but we are talking about created beings that have volition and soul. That's some real. Now, what I want to end up on here is Satan, though, has been infiltrating with many ways. I mean, the whole Watcher thing, when you really kind of understand Genesis 6, making hybrids, wild beasts of the field. Now, there are beasts, because really only a third of the angels fell, so this is the whole point. There's a third of all these races out there that are in rebellion to God, and there's many, and then there yet the 2/3 that aren't. See, we just think, all right, so this Satan, who is Leviathan, who is the beast, who is the serpent, who is the dragon, who is the Nakash, who is a wicked, who did get in and make a whole line of people, wicked hybrids. So I want to show you the etymology of these words, okay, and where Daniel's kingdom, because the last kingdom is iron and clay, oh my gosh, and unpack that, and what the ancients understood iron to be. Okay? Now the serpents here is with a nakash. It comes with a cherub, where you get into the word beast, lion, eagles, man. He's a tree. There's a dragon, nakash. There are animals of the desert. There is vipers. There is, where it talks, one verse it talks about he's a viper and there's 3 words. A serpent and a flying, this, we are going to track him. Comes from, though, the original word comes from the word tan, which is tannin, which is the word, there's 2 breaking downs of marine or land monsters. These are the words for behemoth and leviathan. These understandings are packed into there. The dragon, the sea monster, the jackal, the serpent, the monster, they call him a big whale. I mean, no, come on, people. There's, when he's in a place of jackals, some of these verses that are in here, the tan is leviathan, leviathan, T-A-N, the last words. It is a word that comes out of there, a monster, a dragon, a serpent out of the 5th day. This is Poseidon. This is Atlantis. This is a civilization. This whole understanding, Plato wasn't crazy. I mean, the ancients had retained that knowledge. Now we think it's a fairy tale. Well, it's about ready to come out. It says when the abyss is opened up and the sea and the fish come out of the sea. Let me tell you something, people. Oh my gosh. If you aren't sealed, if you don't know your authority, you're going to be blown over. No wonder men are going to just die of heart attacks and fear and freak when all this stuff, everything comes out of the woodwork. Anyways, how the serpent and then the nakash in the garden. Now that's a whole story, because that is, as far as we're concerned, to a large extent, that's what's been dogging the human race. That's the iniquity that got into the human genome in the garden, which is why everybody, no matter what you really do need to get some new genetics and be part of the new man that he's created, which is part of the new Jerusalem and the new. You need to get a new body and you need to get a new spirit. Okay, this stuff is so. Here it is, and this is the whole Philistia, because the rod is broken in pieces, because from the serpent he becomes a viper, and then he becomes a flying serpent, the dragon. See, this is all kind of an encrypted understanding. It is there. We are going to, and I also want to say the goat, the fish, Capricorn, the Hydra, there's so many. It took me so long to try to put this stuff together, but you know what? God is good. If you seek him, you will find him. If you ask for bread, he will not give you a stone. So on that note, I'm pretty much close to wrapping it up. What I do want to do is just reiterate that God is love. He is in total control. You can come under the shelter of the wing of the Most High. As I say, get in the house and stay close to the house, That is a big, bad world out there. In Yahushua's name, by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony, receive the new birth. It's awesome. Become a child, a son of the living God, and let's just do this thing and give all the glory to him, Yeshua. Shalom.